Hello YouTube, it's Charlie in Westeros here, and I am back once again with my Game of Thrones episode reviews. Today I will be reviewing with my good friend Pranika here, episode 4 of season 4 entitled...
OathKeeper.
There you go. She remembers the name of the title. That's 1 point for you, Prawns. As always, these reviews are spoiler-free, so we do not spoil anything from the book. I have read the books, but Pranika here has not, so you will be getting, I guess, a bit of a new, fresh intake on this episode that comes from somebody, who doesn't quite know what's coming. So, just want to switch it up on you guys a little bit, and hope you enjoy. This is going to be a first for me, because I usually do these reviews on my own, but since I have Pranika here, I thought, why not make it a little more interesting? So, without further ado, I guess let's jump right into it then. So I guess I'm going to go by location. So the first location that we have in this episode is the events at Meereen with Daenerys, and I'll just introduce what happened in these scenes quickly, and then we can go over the details, I guess. So at Meereen, we have Missandei and Grey Worm who are flirting. She's teaching him how to speak the common tongue, and we find out that she is from Noth, which is, I guess, south of where they are, and Grey Worm is from the Summer Islands, which is not the same location as she is from. And I guess I was sort of wondering, I thought maybe they were siblings and we just didn't know about it, but clearly we find out that they are not siblings, and they got some, some flirting going on. There might be a budding love interest. You
incestuous couple if they were siblings?
That would be quite incestuous, and it would go well with the theme of Game of Thrones. But even so, he doesn't have his part, so he couldn't really do much, could he?
He doesn't?
No, he's a eunuch. Unsullied don't have any...
I didn't know that. Well, you live and learn.
God, Pranika, keep up. Anyway, so after that, I'm just going to go over the whole scene first, then we can discuss various events. So Daenerys sends Grey Worm to Meereen to help instigate a rebellion amongst the slaves. Like in the last episode, she flung those chains and metal pieces of the previous slaves of the other cities to,
Psychological warfare.
Big word, psychological warfare. And, of course, Grey Worm goes in there and he gives weapons to the rebels. Now, personally, I would have loved to see how that struggle all went down, but all we get is, we just get one of the masters getting mosh-pitted and killed by, a bunch of slaves surrounding him. And then we just have a scene where Daenerys is walking through Meereen with all her little her followers crying. I think they're crying Misa, right? In this scene?
Yeah, once again.
And...
very emotional.
In this sense, Daenerys maintains her word and keeps her oath to the slaves to, promise... I think she promised vengeance, or she promised justice for them in the last episode. And just like they did to the slaves of Meereen, or the child slaves of Meereen, she nails 163 masters on posts all through the city, which point the way to the tallest pyramid, where she drapes the Targaryen banner over the Harpy statue, which is the symbol of Meereen. And, stands atop and looks on. It's such an epic scene, and, go Team Dany is something I would say.
Pretty badass.
So, I just want to say one thing about this scene, and then I want to hear what you have to say about it. I thought it was kind of cool because, as we know, the episode is entitled OathKeeper, and obviously this refers to the sword that Brienne of Tarth later on receives and names herself in order to, find Sansa and Arya. But I think the title of the episode also refers to a number of other events in the episode, and I think this scene is one of them. It's Daenerys keeping her oath to the slaves that she's going to give them justice, and she does just that, basically.
Yeah.
That was my one thought of that episode, or of that scene.
Yeah.
Did you have any, I don't know.
I wouldn't say just the slaves, because even when she was walking, I feel like it was an oath she made to herself, because, they were like, oh, we'll go ahead and we'll take, in the episode where she's walking towards Meereen, and she sees all the slaves.
The slave children, yeah.
Yeah, they're hung. They're pinned to the posts, and
do you mean
what's his name?
Barristan Selmy.
He asks her, do you want us to go ahead and take them down? And she says, no, I want to see them. And I want each one of I want to remember their faces, and I want to know how many they are. Because I guess she makes an oath to herself too that I want revenge. I want these people to be avenged.
And it's actually funny you mentioned that, because even in this scene, Barristan Selmy says, oh, you should think about this. Do you really want to, string up all those masters and, do them like they did the slaves? Don't you want to, serve them fairness as opposed to serve them injustice, and she
Yeah.
says, no, I'm feeding them justice, or she's serving them justice, or something like that.
Yeah.
And so it kind of reminds me, it kind of like flashes back to that scene where, you know, she's having that conversation with Barristan, who's kind of trying to protect her gaze from the slaves, but, you know, it's an interesting dichotomy between them, I guess. You know what I mean?
Another, I guess, this part that I find really interesting now that you brought this up, what makes me think is that scene in the last episode when Tywin is like, what's the most important quality in a leader or a king is wisdom. Now, do we really know if Daenerys has that wisdom? Like, if she knows where to have justice, where not to have justice? Just this is like really seeing into the future.
That's an interesting thought. She does
get the throne. Does she have wisdom? Is she being? I think she's too soft of a heart, to be honest, with like slaves.
You know who I root for, but you know, I'll let you have your opinion. But I think
I love Dany, but I think she has a soft place which might bring her downfall. But I don't want to see that, because I think out of everyone, I wanted Robb Stark to be king. He's dead.
R.I.P.
I'm hurt. So she's the next best thing.
I gotcha. But I think you bring up a good point, though, because it's easy to conquer a city, but it really takes more than that to rule. And I think now that she's in the city, we're going to see, of course, if she's going to stay there, and if she does stay there, what she's going to do, you know, with her new subjects. I mean, she has obviously a lot of slaves under her command now, and now she has, I'm sure, a lot more masters still alive and there.
Exactly.
But, of course, that's to be found out.
Well, if she keeps the masters, I think hopefully she won't have a mutiny later.
Yeah, well, we'll have to see what happens, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, should we move?
I have a question for this scene, though. You said the Unsullied don't have private parts.
Yeah.
They don't. But in the scene where he cut, like in the last season or the season when he cuts the nipple, he says men don't need nipples, but then they're not men. It's really confusing.
I guess that's one way to look at it. I think, you know, it was just the way they kind of use that phrase loosely. I mean, they were men at one time, I guess. I don't know. It's I guess a good point you bring there. I mean, I'll just call them men.
I didn't know that. That's why I'm so shocked right now.
Yeah.
What?
Kind of confusing. I can understand where you're coming from. But let's keep it moving, because we have a lot of ground to cover. No, it's okay. We have a lot to cover, and I want to talk next about Sansa and Littlefinger. I know this isn't the immediate next scene, but it's, I think, the shortest scene out of like all the various areas in Westeros during this episode. So I guess we find out a lot of information in this scene. Like we find out that he's bringing Sansa to Lysa Tully, and Peter Baelish, i.e. Littlefinger, is going to marry Lysa. But I think we're left with the question, like, why does he do that? Like, what's his goal with doing that? And Sansa asks the question, and he does give a few cryptic answers. He doesn't seem all that clear from what I recall. But he does, like, really touch Sansa awkwardly at the end. Like, he, like, rubs her a bit, and he's like, oh, I forgot the line he used, but he made some, like, line about ambition and, like, strokes her, and it came off as really, really pedophilic.
He said, I want everything.
Is that what he said?
And
oh, yeah, that's right, that's what he said.
Her. He said, I will do everything to get what I want.
And
I want everything.
And to me as a showrunner, that comes off as him saying, I want you, Sansa.
Yeah.
That's my interpretation of the scene. I don't know what you thought of that.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he has a weird obsession with the Tullys, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
well, he was in love,
with her mother, and so I guess his aunt is the next best thing, but he's still in love with Sansa because she's like kind of like this mirror image of her mother. Because she's supposed to look...
They're supposed to look similar,
exactly
right?
like her or something.
Right, yeah.
And so...
They kind of do.
Yeah, so I guess maybe that's what it is. He's obsessed with Sansa. And he's always protecting his own interests.
See, to me it's just creepy because she... Like, obviously we know the actress is a bit older. I think she's like in her late teens. But the character Sansa is 14 years old, and that's just so weird to me. I don't know. That's my, like, grip with that scene.
A lot of weird things going on.
But at least we know that he is somewhat behind, you know, the execution of Joffrey, and we find out that he got somebody else involved. And we're going to get to that. But first, now that we're going to talk about things at King's Landing, let's talk about other things going on at King's Landing, like, for example, between Jaime and Bronn. So, if we can just go to King's Landing now, we have a scene with Jaime and Bronn talking. Bronn is still training Jaime, of course, to improve his fighting with his left hand. And he basically tells Jaime that Tyrion named Jaime when Tyrion was, of course, at the Eyrie. Tyrion named Jaime as, I guess, the person to fight for him during that during that, I guess there's a name for it. It was like a justice duel, or like to decide whether or not Tyrion was guilty, and they had to name a champion, and Tyrion named Jaime, but of course Jaime wasn't there, so Bronn fought for him, or Bronn, made the gamble to fight for him. But I mean, I think Bronn, by saying that, obviously was trying to enforce the idea that Jaime should go and find, or should go talk to Tyrion because he hasn't done that yet.
Because Tyrion trusts him.
Yeah, and I think it speaks to the relationship, and it was a really, I don't know, it was a cute short scene. We get a little bit more of an insight towards the relationship, and of course we know. I'm quite sure Tyrion did, like in the episode they have Tyrion naming Jaime as his as the person to fight for him. If I do recall,
defend him.
Yeah, he did name him, but like it kind of reminds you of these things that happened in the first season, which I thought was quite neat.
Yeah.
Did you have any thoughts on that specific moment, or should we keep it moving?
No, I think you covered it all.
Okay, so then Jaime, of course, follows the advice that Bronn gives him, or quote-unquote advice. Oh, also, quick thing, though. I mean, I remember also Bronn and Jaime were fighting, and Bronn keeps reinforcing the idea that, oh, Jaime, you can't fight clean. I've learned how to fight dirty, and sometimes that's the only way to do things in this world, so to speak.
Yeah. I guess also Tyrion also probably called Jaime on because he knows that he's the only person safe from his father.
Right.
Because he knows that, like, in case anybody else vouches for Tyrion, their life's in trouble, but they're not gonna, his father is not, and Cersei is not going to do anything to their darlings.
It's kind of interesting, though, because the next scene with Jaime and Tyrion, Tyrion tells Jaime that he doesn't think his father's gonna do anything for him. He thinks that, Tyrion basically says that his father wouldn't really care if he died, but I kind of feel that Tywin would care a little, because in the last season, or 2 seasons ago, when Tywin and Tyrion were talking, Tyrion asked Jaime, why didn't you, or too many T's. Tyrion asked Tywin, why didn't you kill me when I was born? And Tywin says, you're my son, you're Lannister. So why would Tywin just suddenly decide to kill him now?
Well, he's always wanted, even from that moment, I guess the other thing that scene revealed was that he always wanted Tyrion to die, and now he's literally picking between one Lannister and the other, right? Because he thinks, well, I don't know how much he believes it, but Cersei believes that Tyrion's the one who killed Joffrey. And so now, since he has to pick between the two Lannisters, I feel like
take their sides, you mean?
Yeah.
Although it's interesting because we haven't really had Tywin's point of view on the scene, so I'll be very interested to see what he's thinking in this moment. Like, does he want to help Tyrion out, or does he want to let his son kind of just
have his head on a stake?
Exactly, like Joffrey did to all those other poor folks.
Glad he's gone. Just saying.
Of course, Jaime also feels in the scene like he's in a hard place. He wants to. He's trying to have his sisters back, of course, and he wants to help his brother, but he feels like he can't. I will say this is interesting because I think this is the first time
Tyrion ever says, "Oh, you think I killed your son?" So he directly mentions, "I know what was going on here."
Twice, I think, even in that scene, he says "Oh, your son," and you're both of your son together.
Not just her son, Because when Jaime says, "Oh, she saw her son die in her arms," and he looks at Jaime and he's like, "Her son."
It's brilliant because I think it shows that I never, because in the books I don't believe it was ever stated that Tyrion overtly knew. I don't recall. Maybe it was stated, but in this scene it just throws it out there like Tyrion knows.
Yeah,
and that's kind of interesting. Yeah, it's not a secret.
And he's not. I feel like maybe last season was it, or no, maybe this season. No, it was definitely last season. Sorry, when Tyrion went to talk to Cersei, and she kind of interpreted it as Tyrion coming onto her or something, and he had no intentions, but she saw it like that or something like that, and it was weird. But that. I don't know. I really like Tyrion. He seems like he has a good
Tyrion's
character.
Comes from a good place. The one most likable Lannister, that is hands down for sure. Yeah. And another thing, I wonder. I think this scene kind of runs in the theme of the episode because the episode is named Oathbringer, obviously. So this is kind of Oathkeeper. Sorry, my bad. I think this is kind of Jaime trying to figure out, and as we go along the whole episode, he's trying to figure out which oath does he maintain. Does he maintain his oath to to Catelyn Stark, or does he forego that for his sister, for the love of his sister? And I think it kind of makes me wonder. And it kind of makes me wonder. I mean, I wonder if that theme also doesn't apply to Littlefinger, because maybe he's keeping an oath to somebody in the series that I don't know about. It would be interesting.
Littlefinger's never kept an oath.
That is true.
I guess that was one thing that I did want to mention about the scene with Sansa.
Jump back to that quickly. Okay.
Oh yeah, just like jumping back to that quickly. I feel like any family that Littlefinger has an oath to with
you made this point earlier.
Off.
Like
that family's doomed.
Like you're saying, because with Ned Stark, he was pretending to help Ned out.
Ned Stark and
backstabbed
him die.
And who's next? He's helping the Lannisters now, and he's basically looks like he's backstabbing them too.
Yeah.
So you're worried that he's gonna backstab whoever he's helping out, whoever he's helping out now.
Yeah.
I think that'll be interesting to see. I think you're onto something there. I will say that much. It's quite an interesting thought because it does seem to kind of roll with his character and keep. It's interesting because you never know.
Keeps an oath.
You never know whose side he's on. That's such an interesting part of this character. He's never ever like kept his word to, or at least he seems to have not kept his word up to this day to anybody he's said he did, or he quote unquote claims. Even though to Ned Stark he did say like, "Oh, don't trust me," or "You shouldn't trust me."
Yeah, even he says like it's good that I don't have a motive or anything because
or people won't suspect me because I don't seem to have a motive.
Yeah, or that like it's good that nobody knows what I'm up to because they're never gonna suspect me of anything. Like if they don't know what I'm up to, they don't know me. I'm safe.
Let's move it along to the Margaery and Olenna scene now.
Oh,
this was now we found out some juice in this scene. So we find out Olenna's going back to Highgarden. She tells Margaery about her intended match, or about her past, really, how she was supposed to marry a Targaryen, I think a prince, and she didn't want to, and I think she was attracted to her sister's betrothed, like the husband, or the man her sister was supposed to marry, who was Luther Tyrell. And basically what she did is she went up to Luther Tyrell's bedroom and, did her magic on him and got him to change his mind about who he's going to marry and decided to marry Olenna, who became the grandmother of Margaery. So we find out she's been a cunning woman for a long, long time, which isn't too surprising, I guess. But it's also interesting because she admits to basically killing Joffrey and that she didn't want to let Margaery marry a person like him. And she basically, and obviously Margaery didn't know because she's kind of surprised by this.
Yeah. And
she also tells Margaery, of course, to go and woo Tommen. So as somebody who didn't know this was coming, I guess, or somebody who didn't know who killed Joffrey, were you surprised by this, or were you like not surprised that Olenna was behind it?
I wasn't. When I saw that scene with Joffrey getting killed, I was studying everyone's expression. She seemed way too calm about it. She was very like, oh yeah.
And she was also the first person to say like, help the poor boy or something. Like she's the one who actually like made a comment as though she kind of
Yeah, she
knew it was coming. So.
Yeah, I don't know. I had a feeling Sansa wasn't behind it. Tyrion is too smart to be standing right there if he was behind it.
I think we're all pretty much agreed it's not Tyrion at this point.
And I guess the other people that they zoomed in on, the Martells would have been... He's smarter than that, and I feel like he has someone bigger than Joffrey to worry about right now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like not so much of her being behind it, but Littlefinger, I saw that.
Yeah, well, Littlefinger, like, I guess, we obviously saw it the next episode that he picked her up on the boat, but
I actually had a feeling Margaery was behind it.
Really? You thought Margaery was?
Because when I saw her expression and, like, just the way she was, like, she's just, like, her crisis aversion through that scene, like, right before that. I felt like she was up to something. And she was watching him choke. Yeah. And then, like, for, like, 2 minutes, and then she's like, oh, he's choking.
But she's a very, cold and calculated person. I mean, we even get it in the last episode when she said, I wanted to be the queen. Like, and now I can't be the queen. And, of course, we now found out that, she's going to most likely marry Tommen, and now her grandmother tells her to, go work your magic on Tommen like I did my magic on Luther Tyrell so many years ago.
Yeah.
Although I will think it's a bit awkward because when the scene comes where she sneaks into Tommen's room, of course, and she's trying to like quote unquote get to know him more and talk to him and I guess seduce him a little bit, even though he's supposed to be I think like 8 or 9 or 10 years old. Yeah. Even though the actor is is a teenager, I think the actor is about 16 or 15. I don't quite remember, but thinking about the age difference there was a bit disturbing for me.
Well,
anyway.
Worse things have happened.
That is very true. That is very true. Did you have any thoughts on that scene when Margaery went into Tommen's room?
No, I think we know what she's up to. She, as Cersei says, she dresses like a whore for a reason. I don't mean that in a mean way. I I totally promote
It's
dressing
okay.
like a whore.
It's
I'm
okay. It's
with
okay.
that.
Haters gonna hate, right?
Yeah, but like, you know, she wants to flaunt it because she got it and wants to use it. You know what? Go for it. Also, I'm looking forward to see Tommen. Hopefully, he's gonna be nice because anyone whose cat's name is Sir Pounds.
You like the Sir Pounds?
I'm with them. That cat is adorable.
He was a cute kitty. I felt bad for poor Tommen. Apparently, he's been tortured by Joffrey for so long. So it kind of like reinforced the idea in my mind that I'm not so sad Joffrey's dead.
Oh no, not at all. He wanted to skin Sir Pounds. No.
There's a couple more scenes I want to discuss that happen at King's Landing, but before we get to the last couple scenes with Brienne and Jaime and Pod and all them, I want to talk about the Cersei and Jaime scene. There was a quick one where, you know, she tells Jaime that she wants him to go and kill Sansa to prove that he's devoted to her. And honestly, the scene she was acting really crazy and paranoid, and like she even wanted more guards to protect Tommen because she was paranoid that he's going to get killed.
Nuts.
Okay, so I want to bring this up because there's a controversy in the last episode, as we all know, and I just want to put my fresh input on that scene, and then I'll let you say whatever you have to say. So obviously I was disturbed because it did come off as rape, and the reason why it disturbed me, especially in this context, was because I didn't feel like it helped Jaime's character progression. Now, the director released a statement that it wasn't intended to come across as rape, and I understand what he was trying to do now that I've read over what he had to say. I still feel like it was a really poorly directed scene, or at least they could have done it in a better way to convey that that manipulative. Because I think he was trying to convey that manipulative side of Cersei to, you know, kind of get him to do things for him in like a sexual way, you know, because she was like holding back. But it just came off really wrong, at least in my mind, in terms of that scene. And again, I'm not upset that they showed rape per se. It's more the fact that it didn't seem to help his character progression, like I said, because, you know, he had that huge redemption in the last season. And so that seemed kind of off. It came off across as a little off. Again, you know, rape, there's much worse things that happen in this series. It's not like it's all that surprising. It's Game of Thrones we're watching, after all. Yeah. That was the one reason that I had a little issue with that. But, you know, having read the director's statement and all that, I think I can, you know, I can move past it, obviously. Yeah. I will say, though, I think it would be interesting if that scene coupled with the fact that, you know, her kid... And also, there was, like, the fact that scene was totally, you know, unholy. You know, they're having sex in front of their dead child. Yeah. It's in a like a sept, I guess. It's in like the most holiest place. There's nothing godly or quote good about that scene anyway. Yeah. So rape, all those things going on, it completely emphasized the like evil nature of that moment, if you will. Yeah. What was I gonna say?
I mean, incest might be big on the show because of Targaryens, but the Lannisters just take it to the next level.
Well, at least these two anyway do. Yeah.
I don't know. With the whole rape thing, it was definitely rape.
Yeah, it came across that way you felt too.
Yeah.
That's how it came across.
If they wanted to show it, I understand what they were trying to show. I've not read the books, so I don't know. Mm-hmm. But
it didn't come across that way.
Yeah, if they were trying to show that she's teasing him, I don't think there's a blurred line. Like, if you're teasing someone to want to have sex with them, that is wanting to have sex with them. Or, like,
make him across in, like, a manipulative kind of...
but if you say no throughout having sex with someone, yeah, that's not... And if you're pushing... I mean, there's been people who've been saying, oh, you know, Cersei's kind of like those women that tease you when they say they don't want it, when they actually want it. There's no such thing. If they say they don't want it, they don't want it. Yeah. We know what we want and we know what we don't want. When we say no, it means no. Yeah, there's no like blurred line there. I mean, it's a show, but I don't think you can equate it to real life and say, yeah, you know, she's like one of those women. She's not like one of those women.
Who likes to say she doesn't want it, but she actually does want it, you mean? Like,
yeah.
I hear what you're saying.
I don't agree with that at all. I mean, unless you know someone who's having sex with their twin and it's at some crazy level, maybe you can equate your life to that.
Somewhere, but... And I will say, I liked how you kept referring to the blurred lines. I love how you... Reminds me of that song.
Oh, yeah.
Blurred lines.
Yeah, there's no blurred lines.
I won't go on a singing spree, but... yeah, so... I think I had something else I wanted to say on that specific scene, but it escapes me right now, so... Oh, I remember now. I feel like they could use that scene, though, because of the... Like, even if they were to embrace, I guess, the violent nature of Jaime's sexual advance and a quote-unquote attack on Cersei, I think they could help use that to advance her her increasing paranoia and insanity. You know, I think there could be like, I don't know. I feel like they could work with that a little bit.
Yeah, that they're both going their own ways. This craziness.
Well, I mean, like, you know, kind of like it would be like a way to enforce the idea that she's losing her mind, unfortunately, because, you know, a traumatic act after traumatic act going on. I don't know. That was just a thought I had on
Yeah,
that,
maybe.
But I don't know. It doesn't. We'll see where they go with it, I guess, at the end of the day.
Yeah, I guess so.
At the end of the day, although I will say it did come across that Jaime was still in his redemptive arc, because in the next scene we have Brienne and Jaime talking, and it looks like he's made up his mind. He gives her his Valyrian sword to find and keep Sansa and Arya and make sure they're safe, or bring them somewhere safe anyway. And of course, she says she will do that. She will find them for Catelyn, for her bride Catelyn, that is, and for Jaime. So, Prawns, do you think there's a potential showmance between Brienne and Jaime building up? You see it as love?
I feel, there's definitely some sexual tension too, as they touched upon it before when he said, "Oh, you could fit in as a Lannister." So
right, I actually mentioned that it almost came across like a double entendre, you know, where he was saying like, "Oh, you're like bitchy like a Lannister, you have that attitude." But also,
I'm attracted to you like a Lannister.
I have my sister's Lannister, and I, you know, do her. So
yeah,
it's kind of a funny way to look at it.
I feel like they both have this. They have. I think I would look at it as a much deeper connection than what Jaime and Cersei have.
Really? Yeah,
because they both are very like honest people. With Jaime and Cersei, it seems very like primitive.
Yeah, it's a lot more. It comes across a lot more raw and like lustful and passionate. Whereas with Brienne, it seems a lot more almost innocent or maybe platonic even in a way.
Yeah,
I don't even know.
Yeah,
potentially.
Yeah,
it's like it comes across like, you know, the very like holy form of love versus an unholy form of love. I don't know. I kind of saw that dichotomy playing with these two characters, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, because it's like with them, it's more like you love something and you give it up, you know.
Yeah.
And they're both very loyal. Like, she had her loyalty to Renly, and then, you know, I mean, you could say she's loyal to a lot of people, but at the same time, like, she was loyal to whoever was right. And he's also a very loyal person. He does things with good intentions. I hated him when the show began because he threw Bran off a tower. But
that's why I bring up the redemptive arc.
But also, he did that out of loyalty too, loyalty to Cersei. You know, so I think most of what he does is because of his loyalty.
Well, it's interesting you say that, though, because he did break his oath technically to the king, because he killed King Aerys, the Mad King, because King Aerys wanted to burn all of King's Landing.
But that was his oath. That's why he even brought that up. He says, "Which oath was I supposed to keep? You know, to protect my people, or to protect my king?" And he says that to Brienne. And was it last season when he says, you know, you say, as a knight, you make an oath to protect the poor, to protect all these people, but what do you do when your king is the one who wants to kill everybody else, you know?
Exactly.
So even then, I think he was keeping his oath. It's his loyalty that brings his downfall.
That's very interesting, and it kind of, you know, all this idea of him maintaining his oath kind of culminates in this episode, of course, again, aptly named OathKeeper, of course, which, you know, I think definitely reflects on Jaime, because a lot of the scenes were about Jaime. And so after all, he does give Brienne that nice Valyrian sword, and he gives her that pimped out suit of armor, which is very fancy.
Yeah.
And then, of course, he meets with Bronn and Podrick, and he makes sure that Pod is sent with Brienne, because, you know, of course, Podrick is in potential danger because people want to use him against Tyrion in the court. He doesn't want to do that, so he's going to be kept safe by going with Brienne. Brienne kind of was a bit hesitant there, but then she acquiesced and was like, fine, whatever. And I kind of like that, because I feel like it kind of parallels the Hound and Arya arc, you know, because there's Sandor, Clegane, and Arya, and Arya's like a little girl who's acting as Sandor's sidekick in a way. And he's like this big mountainous man, and she's this little girl. And here we have, you know, big mountainous Brienne, this strong woman with little Pod.
I guess so.
As her sidekick. And of course, he's a lot younger. He's not quite as young as Arya, I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't think anyway. Maybe he is. But like,
yeah,
it's kind of a cute little mirror there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Also, that you bring up Arya. One thing I'm excited for, since we know that Sansa's going to the Vale, is hopefully they're gonna meet, because we've heard in the last episode or the episode before that the Hound is taking Arya to the Vale. So I'm excited for this. the Stark family, at least some members, are gonna kind of come back together.
And it does seem to be like that's hinted at in this episode, because we have, like, later on, I'm going to bring this up in a bit, but we have Bran and, like, Jon being so close, and I'll talk about that. And also in this episode it's hinted at, that Arya and Sansa seem to be going to the same place, which is
hope for the Starks.
There's still hope for the
Starks. My people are coming back.
Pranika is a huge Team Stark fan, and
I will always be Team Stark till I die.
And I think I filmed your reaction to the death of, or the Red Wedding actually, and I filmed it. It's on my channel.
Didn't want to watch the show anymore.
I'll post a link to that video in the comments or in the info section below, so check it out. It was her raw, real reaction. So it was fun times for me. Well, not so much fun times for you, unfortunately.
I was.
Before we end the scene, Brienne, of course, decides to name the sword OathKeeper, and Jaime says goodbye, Brienne, in a very soft way, and that's the scene. So appropriately named. Yeah. The sword. Do you think it was a good name for the?
Oh, definitely. For the two of them, I think that's a good name. The only person more suitable to a name like that would be Ned Stark.
Yeah, well, it was his sword originally, though.
Oh, true.
Part of it was.
Oh, that's also very, like...
cool coincidence, or like...
It's very, like, yeah.
It doesn't make sense, but it has like a parallel continuancy there.
Yeah.
Also, I think it kind of symbolizes, at least personally, I think it symbolizes her oath to Jaime in a way, because now she's receiving a sword from him as an oath to what she will do for him, and she said it in the other episode. I don't want to say it came across as like a pseudo wedding, but like when you get married, you get a person engagement ring. At least in our universe, I'm not talking about Game of Thrones, but you know what I mean. It's like an act of union, basically. And I felt that sword kind of symbolized an act of union between Jaime and Brienne. I don't know. Maybe I'm being overly romantic about them because I love those two characters and I want to see them together and all that good stuff. But I don't know. That was just my thoughts on that.
I like the loyal characters on the show. I think that's what made me really like the Starks.
Which is interesting because the last episode, like the episode before this one, we find out that, loyalty won't always, or being a good person, quote unquote, doesn't seem to always get you far.
Oh, it doesn't. But it makes you a good person. People miss you when you're gone.
That is definitely true in this series. Look at Joffrey. Nobody really seems to be... Although, I will be sad because he was an awesome person to hate on, but...
Oh, yeah. Who do we hate on now?
Ramsay Roose, I guess.
Oh, yeah, Bolton.
Well, speaking of the Boltons, the next scene takes place at the Wall, or the next area, I guess, of the world is focused on the Wall. We have the new man at the Wall, who is named Locke, and of course we know that Locke is Roose Bolton's, I guess, envoy or servant, and he's the same guy who chopped off Jaime's hand.
Yes, I noticed that. He was
It took us a moment to realize.
Similar.
I was like, that guy looks familiar.
Who is that guy?
I know him from somewhere. Oh my god, it's him.
Yeah.
It was quite a oh my god moment. And of course we think he is likely sent there to kill Jon Snow. But so far he's been acting all nice to Jon and goody. Like
hopefully he doesn't know,
Well, he does know that it's Jon Snow though. They discussed it.
Oh yeah.
Like,
well, hopefully he doesn't know who Jon Snow is. Mm-hmm.
Well, he knows he's the bastard because they had a conversation 2 episodes ago.
Oh, but I hope he doesn't know whose bastard he is.
No, he does know whose bastard he is. I think. Remember, because in the last 2 episodes ago, him and Roose, I think, were having a discussion about they were discussing Jon Snow, and he finds out that Jon Snow is Ned Stark's bastard, and that he could potentially harbor, Bran or Rickon because they find out he's alive. Oh
yes, I remember. Now I'm putting it together because he said there's still little Starks, and if they come back, the real rulers of the North are Stark, and people will rebel to have them back.
And another thing is that Locke also finds out that Bran is alive, or he knows that where Bran is because he overhears Jon and Sam talking about Bran.
He's at Craster's Keep.
And Jon, because now we know for sure that Jon knows that Bran's alive because Sam told him, and I think Bran told him not to tell him, but clearly didn't keep that promise. An oath broken, Sam. Good job. If he didn't make that promise. But so Locke overhears that, and they think that Bran would be in the area around Craster's Keep because that's where there still be people, and that's where there might still be where Bran might perceive some shelter, possibly.
Oh, don't hurt any more Starks. We've had enough.
And it's kind of rough because in the next scene, of course, at the Wall, Jon is given permission to go find the mutineers north of the Wall to kill them.
Because what's the guy's name? The one who hates Jon?
Oh, the temporary Lord Commander, Alistair Thorne.
Yeah, he seems to hate Jon.
And he wants him dead. And
so
he thinks...
Yeah, go for it.
He's like, oh yeah, he'll get killed by the mutineers, bring whoever you want. And of course Locke volunteers because Locke also A wants Jon dead, and B wants the Stark
Bran
children dead. And now that he knows where Bran is, he's going up there with Jon to undoubtedly go do some killage.
Ew, no.
So then we have the events north of the Wall at Craster's Keep. We have that weird, creepy wildling Carl. I think his name was Carl, and his mutineers, and he's like drinking Jorah Mormont's
that's
skull.
a wildling?
Oh no, those aren't wildlings. Sorry, those are deserters of the Night Watch. Thank
Yeah.
you. You caught me in my mistake there. So yeah, speaking of rape in Game of Thrones, here we have a lot of rape going on in this scene.
Yeah.
Quite disturbing, I thought that was. But anyway, like so many other things in Game of Thrones, of course. We haven't
had necrophilia yet, have we?
Well, it gets mentioned in the first season by Lord Peter Baelish, actually. He talks about how he brought in a dead body a few times for one of his clients' needs at the brothel.
Oh.
We haven't seen it, I don't think. But anyway, and as you know, this Carl is doing his thing, and we also find out that, of course, Ghost, Jon's direwolf, is locked up there. They have his direwolf, or Ghost. I wonder what happened to Ghost. Now I know, I guess. All of a sudden, we have one woman bring a baby, the last male baby of Craster, into the hut.
Exciting.
And then her and all the other women start exclaiming, "A gift for the gods! Gift for the gods!" Which of course means that they're going to sacrifice this male baby to the White Walkers. And of course, Carl seems to not really care. He says, "Yeah," like he tells Rast, his name is Rast, I guess, nicknamed the Rapist, one of the other mutineers, to go and bring it to the woods outside. And it scene kind of cuts away to Bran and company, who stumble on Craster's Keep. Of course, Bran's direwolf Summer gets also caught in a trap, which is sad for poor Bran and Summer. And then shortly after that, they all get captured.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, now he can't walk, but I mean, they all get captured by these mutineers, and Bran admits to being the Stark of Winterfell, Brandon Stark, and that's also trouble for Bran.
It's trouble for everyone.
And we kind of live on a cliffhanger at that moment because we don't really find out what happens next. Now that Carl has this information, what is he going to do with him? You know, is he going to ransom him? Is he going to kill him? Like, what's going to happen to poor Bran, to Mira, to all of them? I felt bad for Jojen Reed, Mira and Jojen. Like, Jojen was the other boy, and he looks like he's in a fever. He's really sick. And poor Hodor, of course. Poor Hodor gets, like, stabbed in the leg by, I think it was Rast. I hate that guy so freaking much.
It's okay.
Did you have any thoughts on that specific scene? Or in any of these scenes?
No.
So the last scene, I think, is the most
I think the only
crazy
thing,
one.
Yeah, I think the only thing I've found on this show is if you really hate someone, something's gonna happen to them too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I have that hate building up for Joffrey. To me, his death wasn't that satisfying.
Really?
I wanted him to suffer more. Maybe if they skinned him.
That's why you should read the books. It comes across as more quote unquote satisfying. Look at us talking about our bloodlust over killing Joffrey.
Well, you know, he did really mean things and killed all my favorite characters.
Yeah, you have a point there. Or at least indirectly had something to do with it.
Yeah.
So you kind of like live through Arya in a way because she's kind of renaming the names of people she wants to kill or she wants dead.
Oh, definitely. Go Arya.
In a way, I think she's kind of a voice for the audience though, because she's naming these people she wants dead, and they're people she wants vengeance on. And in a weird way, I think a lot of us, the show viewers and the book readers, want vengeance on these very same people. Yeah. So
I think she's finally growing up because that was one thing for her where I thought like she's too hot-headed. She does stupid things. Yeah. I noticed, you know, like when in the first season, a bit of the second season, but she's calming down now. She's using that anger. She's not as hot-headed. She's more cool-headed.
She's killing people left, right,
and center. Oh, she's killing people, but she's doing it with intelligence. She's not doing what she did with Joffrey and like poking, you know, and, like doing dumb things.
She's being trained into like.
She's more intelligent about it.
Okay, she's thinking more about how to like get her vengeance in a way.
She's being more careful.
Interesting. Well, look at us talking about Arya.
She's getting smarter now.
She wasn't even in this episode. We're talking about her.
Yeah.
Goes to show how much we love Arya. Go Arya. Team Arya. So shall we talk about the last scene of the episode and the craziest, most like wildest thing? So we have, of course, the White Walker who brings this Craster's baby to what looks like a sheet of ice in the middle of some frozen wasteland, lays it there, and then another White Walker who's different looking.
Just and he has like some horns out of his head. Kind of looks like maybe an ice crown.
Yeah,
attached to his head. So maybe he's like the king. He's
like an ice king of sorts?
Yeah, maybe the king of the White Walkers.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
That would be interesting. Well, he clearly has the ability to transform humans into White Walkers. And
babies, I think. I think
it's... baby males. And this is huge news because now we know how White Walkers seem to be made. They're from humans.
Yeah. Oh, Oh,
and we kind of had that hint in the previous seasons, obviously when they took him away, but we never really saw the transformation happen. And now we have proof that he does that weird ritual where he touches the baby and his eyes go.
It's
blue.
an amazing scene. Amazing.
It's so crazy. That was crazy.
Did
you think that King of the White Walkers was a guy or a girl?
Guy.
Yeah, it looked more male. For a second I was like, is that a woman when I saw it coming? But I think it looked more male.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was weird. Because the reason why I asked if it was a female, because women obviously are the ones who carry children, who produce more people. I was wondering maybe if it was a female version.
Well,
of
since
White Walker.
they're not giving any females, he's the
it's all male.
the
It's
man
interesting.
Craster.
It's a man's White Walker world.
Oh yeah. But I guess that's one thing. Now after that scene, I'm kind of worried for baby Sam.
Oh right, because. What do you think of what's going to happen?
I feel like his brothers are going to come after him.
You're talking about Gilly's baby?
Yeah.
Because Craster made an oath to, kill off, or to give all the baby, or he at least, there you go, the oath be maintained. Craster, even his wives are still giving out their male babies to the White Walkers.
There was another oath, but that was broken at that point, and now I'm
Gilly
worried.
ran off with it, and so with Sam, with Sam, and then with the baby Sheen Sam, so.
Yeah, and so I'm a little worried for that baby now. I feel like he's in big trouble.
Do you think the White Walkers are going to come for him next?
I feel like his brothers might come for him.
Yeah, well, his brother White Walkers.
His brethren. Yeah.
Definitely a crazy episode. I thought we got a lot of information from this episode. I exclaimed that even when we were watching.
Too slow though.
So yeah, let's talk about the episode as a whole. So like I was saying, I thought there was a lot of new information revealed. We learned a lot of things. This episode, a lot of it was not at all in the books. There's only a few small things, like Brienne getting the sword OathKeeper and going off with Podrick, but aside from that, almost every scene in this episode was brand new, literally. So it was kind of cool for me to watch, because it was all new information. A lot of it was new information, and a lot of it's changed from the books too, which was cool. So I guess that's why I enjoyed it a lot. But you felt it was a slow-paced episode?
I felt they were trying to drag it on, like the walk that we had. Just of the White Walker walking into that wasteland was like a minute long. It was so unnecessary. I feel like they were just trying to drag it out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what they're trying to do. I also think it's just hard to follow up an episode, even though it was like 2 episodes ago. If Joffrey's died, you're expecting something big to happen again, but I guess we gotta wait.
You're expecting more bigger things after that, because Joffrey's death's a pretty big event for us show viewers. He's been there for 4 seasons, and then he's killed off in the 2nd episode. So
yeah,
definitely a hard thing to follow.
It seems like it's so much longer after Robb Stark died, but it's only 2 episodes after.
Yeah, that's right.
So I guess it was quick.
How would you rate this episode out of 10? If we want to get into that, if you have anything else to say, by all means, of course. But
7.
7 out of 10?
I'd give it a 7.
Really? I'm gonna give it like an 8.5 for the information it gave, because it gave a lot of new info. But that's just me. I'm too much of a nice grader for Game of Thrones episodes sometimes.
I have high standards.
That's
I find the 9th episode in every
3.
season.
Oh, every season.
Every season something happens to the Starks, and so I'm dreading the 9th episode
of the season.
Oh God.
I think I know what's gonna happen, but I won't spoil it for you. And
I don't want to know.
It's gonna be
Keep
interesting.
my Starks safe.
So that's all for this episode. I think I've said all I needed to say. I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it as well.
So hopefully, what do you want to see for the next episode? Let's just touch on that, and then we'll end this
I
video.
want to know. I think I'm gonna go back to the Starks. I want to know what's happening with the Starks. I want to know where Arya and Sansa are. I want to know where the 2 of them are, Jon and Bran are. Rickron's kind of disappeared. Don't know what's happening with him.
Him and Osha kind of like. I wonder what happened to them. I'd like to see what.
Yeah, I'd like to see them, and I think I'm curious. Like, Daenerys is really starting to get her character is really building.
Mm-hmm.
I like her, but I think this whole Oathkeeper thing really brought it out to me that the reason why my heart doesn't call out to her, everybody loves her for her dragons. I don't find she's a very loyal. Yeah, she has a great claim to the throne, but
it's funny you just reminded me of something actually, because at the beginning of the episode we have this form of power balance being just destroyed in Meereen with Daenerys. She frees the slaves and oppresses the slavers. The masters are getting pushed down. And at the end of the episode we have at Craster's Keep, people like Rast and Carl who kidnap Bran Stark, and he recognizes him as a lord, and it's all about how these lords are getting like Brandon and
and he
Mira
slaps.
And he's like he takes joy in like kind of oppressing this lord who he felt was or these lords who he feels oppressed him all his life, from what I understand from his character, which is kind of an interesting dynamic there, because we're all go Daenerys, free the slaves, go lower classes, so, to be very blunt or be very dumb about it, I guess. At the end we have the complete opposite. We have, oh no, like poor Bran, rich wealthy Bran, grew up in a great environment, being oppressed by these evil like hoodlums. I don't know, just a jokesy little thought I wanted to put up there. So yeah, I'm looking forward to, if you have anything else to say to that. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with the Daenerys, of course. I want to see how she copes with the situation in Marine, and I really want to see what happens with Theon's sister,
also,
Yara.
where were the dragons?
Yeah, that's another question. We didn't see the dragons at all this episode, or last one either.
Dragons this entire season.
I want to see the dragons. They've been missing.
I haven't seen them since she petted one of them and it
kind of like snarled at her.
Yeah, those
dragons, come back, please.
Yeah.
So I want to see Yara Greyjoy, because she said she was going to go save her brother. So I want to see
where's
what's
she
going on
even
with
this season?
I want to see where she's at. I want to see what's going on with her, and I really hope we'll see that next episode, because we're almost halfway through the season. Episode 5 is next week.
Yeah, I think the new person I'm hating since Joffrey's gone, definitely the Boltons. They need to die.
Well, the Boltons and the Freys. Although the Freys been kind of absent, but I want to see the Walder Frey, and I want to see Bruce and Ramsay gone. Just my 2 cents. Anyway, I guess we'll end it at that. Any final words, Franz?
No.
Anyways,
Valar Morghulis.
all men must die.
That's
hopefully not me. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Rate, subscribe, or like, thumbs up, subscribe, leave any comments if you have any thoughts. I always love hearing feedback. And keep watching, stay tuned in. Probably this Wednesday I'll be doing a group review with spoilers this time, with James Johnson and company. There'll be more of us this time, so check that out if you have read the books or you don't mind getting anything spoiled for you. And without further ado, that is all. So take care, folks.